We're excited to share some great ideas with you today on Retiring Well, talking about gifting money. Is that something that you've considered doing here in the recent times? And what drives GDP growth? That you'll want to stay tuned for an economic update there. And NIGO, what exactly does that mean and how does that apply to you? And part-time employment in retirement. So all of this and a whole lot more coming up right here, right now on Retiring Well.
Retiring Well, brought to you by Centennial Wealth Advisory, financial advisors specializing in retirement planning and serving all of Northern Michigan. Retiring Well, helping you plan for a successful and comfortable retirement. Retiring Well, plan to retire well.
I'd like to open it up to see if you've ever considered gifting money. I mean, that's something I know that a lot of times people work hard, earn that money, and want to keep it all to themselves, which is great. But maybe you're considering, okay, what does it look like if I wanted to gift to a child or grandchild, perhaps? And so in 2023, there's a gift tax exclusion. It increased from $16,000 to $17,000. So there's ways that you can gift money. It doesn't have to be a complicated tax issue or anything like that. So if you're married, then perhaps you can be gifting $34,000 for the couple. And there's this lifetime exclusion. It's like over $12.9 million. So all that means is over your lifetime, you're limited to that. But otherwise, for most of us, it doesn't create any major tax issues or anything. So I want to ask you the question, if you've reached that point in your life where you've sort of mapped things out and maybe seen, okay, odds are pretty good I'm not going to be spending all this money during my lifetime. And so with that, now it's maybe time to consider what amount could I consider gifting to family that eventually may be the ones just inheriting the money. So a couple different ways to go about this. One, utilizing money that's just sort of sitting in your checking or savings that has been there, maybe not making as much interest as you'd like, and so it's as simple as writing a check and putting it, gifting that to someone. Another route might be looking at different stocks. You can gift a stock that you have over to another individual. So that's where you potentially, if you have capital gains that the stock has grown and you essentially don't want to pay tax on it, and maybe the child or grandchild that you want to gift it to is in a lower tax situation, you could gift that stock, and then they would be responsible if they chose to sell the stock based on where their tax situation would be. So you can't do it with IRAs is the one downfall. You would have to ultimately distribute the money first, pay tax on that distribution, and then gift the money. Another way would be paying for education. I see this a lot of times with clients that want to help out their grandchild, and it might be better to just pay the university directly, pay that tuition or whatever bill it might be, versus gifting the money, because then that might interfere with financial aid purposes. Or it might be opening an UGMA or UPMA type of an account, brokerage account, where ultimately you are acting as the guardian of that money until they reach the age of majority or legal age, 18 or whatever it might be in different states. So if you have questions about all this, I know it can be complicated, but again, feel free to give us a call here at Centennial Wealth Advisory.
Gifting money. What could be, one of those powerful things in life, to actually work and then just give it away? I went to a conference in Hawaii, and they said what one of their philosophies is to learn something new each day and then give it away. When it comes to money, maybe there's something new that you get to learn about how you can give it away in a tax-efficient way. Recently, I joined the board of Project Cane Fire, and this is a nonprofit that goes down to the Dominican Republic, drills water wells so that communities and people can have fresh water. Also has a food clinic and some different education clinics to teach. And so as a part of that, and being on the fundraising board, you field a lot of questions, because they say, hey, Jack, you're in finances, teach us something. So I'll say, okay, no problem. Here's some different opportunities. I'll see clients that will come in and they are regularly giving to church and to their nonprofits. And I'll say, okay, where are you giving that money from? I'll say, I just write a check for it. We'll do it once a year, we'll do it monthly. And then I'll say, okay, how old are you? And they'll say, well, I just turned 71, years young. I said, okay, well, there's a rule where you can do a qualified charitable distribution from your IRA. It doesn't count as income to you, and it gets to go to your nonprofit tax-free. It's a powerful tax-efficient strategy if you're going to be giving money. And so to be able to help people understand what the rules are on how they can give and amplify and help others is always super enjoyable.
Yeah, and another opportunity, of course, is giving to like grandkids. I mean, we see that all the time where we have clients, they've got a decent sized retirement portfolio. They don't think they're gonna ever spend it all, and they wanna make sure that their grandkids get taken care of, not just their kids. And there's lots of different opportunities to do that as well. One of the most common that I come across is just an UTMA account, where, and it kind of serves twofold in a respect, because not only can they gift money to their grandkids, but they can show them, hey, in this account, we're holding these investments, and kind of train them up to be investing money and so forth. So it's just great to understand all the different opportunities that you have out there to gift money. All right, well, coming up next, we're going to be talking about what is GDP growth and NIGO, not in good order.
Your grandchildren are precious to you. They are your life. This is your time to have that special relationship. Taking care of yourself is taking care of them. Centennial Wealth Advisory is offering a free, no-obligation retirement review to make sure you don't run out of money during your retirement. Centennial Wealth Advisory. Your best is yet to come.
Hi, my name is Jack Klunder, and I am a financial advisor with Centennial Wealth Advisory. I work out of our Cadillac office, and we specialize in retirement planning. We take a very holistic approach. We can help go through all the different aspects of planning that are involved in retiring well. So if you are nearing or in retirement and you have questions that you want to go over, please give the number on the screen a call, and we can have and set up a free, no obligation consultation.
Living life isn't always easy. It puts up challenges and obstacles you'll have to overcome. There are responsibilities. You put in effort to provide and take care of your family, and to save and invest, to balance work and life. Planning is the first step to succeeding. Plan to retire well.
GDP growth, boy, a thing that sometimes we don't hear much about, and then other times we hear a lot about. Oftentimes, GDP is a reflection or a measure used when we talk about recessions, right? Is our country growing or contracting, and what is that measure? Well, GDP, gross domestic product, typically measured quarterly, a specific period of time, and then it's measured, looked back at times typically and seen that. There's estimates that come out by various agencies and stuff like that over time, but then ultimately, the government comes out with its quarterly measure, and then it's adjusted over time, and then they'll have their final at some point. But what is it? What makes up GDP then effectively? Well, basically, it's consumer spending plus business investments plus government spending plus your net exports. Unless you have an export deficit, right? Then you need to subtract that. So here in the U.S., when you look at consumer, business, and government, those are going to total some factor, and then we're either going to have a trade surplus or deficit, and then you'll take or subtract that. So if you have a positive GDP growth, that means, the country has grown by that amount, right? A negative, that means it's contracted, it's shrunk by that. That could be a factor of many different things, right? If any one of those three spending sort of things were less, that's a factor. Or if the trade export-import thing was a surplus or deficit would have a role on that, right? So this measure here is a big piece of that sort of thing. People will argue against it that there's different advantages and disadvantages of this, or maybe it's outdated, or it's not factoring this or that. But for right now, that's the measure that we're using, right? And when you're looking at investments and as a retirement planning and all this sort of stuff, why is that important to you? Well, obviously, when you look at investments, you're a fractional shareholder or fractional owner, right, in maybe a company, or if you're owning a stock, right? Well, you want that company to be doing well. And for most companies, it's easier to do well when the country is growing, right? When it's expanding and people are spending money, and we have trade, we're trading with other countries, and all this sort of stuff is happening. So when we see these times of expansion, that's typically, not always, but typically good for most investors. So that's usually we want to see positive GDP growth in some factor. And then there's different things that go into that place. So this is just one measure that we look at when we're planning and we're looking at investments and all those things. And just once again, one of those things that we like to talk about and bring education to you so you can plan to retire well.
If you like watching Retiring Well, make sure to go to youtube.com/retiringwell and click the subscribe button to never miss any of our TV shows and other informative videos.
Are you nearing retirement or in retirement? Have you had your portfolio just looked at or have a second opinion on that portfolio recently? Centennial Wealth is a full-service advisory firm, and we have multiple locations in northern Michigan. I'm in the Gaylord office primarily. The office is right downtown Gaylord. Also up in the Petoskey office as well. That office is right off of 31. I'd love to hear your story. I'd love to sit down and chat, and it's a free, no-obligation consultation, so just call the number on the screen.
When it comes to your financial future, what's the value of a truly objective opinion? As someone looking for financial guidance, you have choices. There are thousands of captive financial professionals who work as employees for large national insurance companies and brokerages. There are also many independent financial professionals who aren't bound to any given insurance company, investment strategy, or product. So what's the difference, and why does it really matter to you? Consider this. If you walked into a doctor's office with a sore throat, a bad cough, and a high fever, you'd expect that doctor to assess your symptoms, do a thorough diagnosis, and ultimately hand you a prescription written to cure your particular ailment. In other words, you'd expect the doctor to consider all the medications available and give you his or her absolute best thinking on what's best for you. On the other hand, if that doctor opened the cupboard and only had 3 or 4 prescriptions available, maybe those offered by his or her favorite pharmaceutical rep, most patients would immediately raise an eyebrow, suspicious that they might not be getting what was really in their best interest. The same may be true for your financial well-being. If your financial professional is an employee who's contractually bound to represent a given insurance or investment company, only offering their products while there are literally hundreds of others available, how sure can you be that you're being offered what's truly best for your situation? You don't walk into a tailor or seamstress shop to get clothing off some rack. You go for a custom tailored fit. And with something as important as your financial future at hand, the stakes are even higher. We believe you deserve a truly objective opinion. We think you deserve to consider more of the available options. And we believe your financial future is worth a custom-tailored prescription to help you feel confident for the days ahead. If you'd like a second opinion on your current retirement strategy, simply contact our office today.
NIGO, what does that mean? It's actually a back office financial term that means not in good order. What I'd like to do today is talk about how we might be able to look at our personal lives and financial lives and figure out how to turn NIGOs into IGOs, in good order. Maybe we start with something as simple as time. What are you doing with your time? Do you like how you're spending your time? Does it seem stressed and rushed and like out of sorts? That might be a NIGO. How do you fix it? Well, let's make a list of what you care about most. Then let's make a list about what's getting the most of you, and then compare the two. And if it's not in good order, you know what to do. You need to rearrange it. When it comes to financial services that we get to do here at Centennial Wealth, we look at it, we take a holistic approach. So let's look at common NIGOs we see when it comes to financial planning. Income. Here's my suggestion, know your numbers. Too many times people come in and they do not know what their contractual lifetime income is. They don't know what they are spending in their expenses or their lifestyle, and they have no idea what that income gap is. So we might say, hey, that's not in good order. Let's figure out an income plan. Let's write it out, map it out. Second thing is investments. Know your risk. When it comes to risk management, I think it can get into 3 different buckets. There can be calculated risk, unknown risk, or unnecessary risk. Too many times clients will come in and they have no idea what risk they're actually in. They're in that unknown risk category. I would say, all right, well, we have to identify those risks. We need to move them to the calculated risk. Sometimes we find people are taking unnecessary risk. Teaching them about that and what other options are out there can help put their investment plan in good order. Tax planning. When it comes to taxes, what I would say is know your opportunities. Are you doing tax bracket optimization? Are you utilizing accounts you might have access to, like a health savings account? How does that fit into your tax plan? Next, healthcare. Know your timeline. Okay, you might be on an employer-sponsored plan for a while and you'll know the features of that. You might transition into a marketplace health insurance, and then at 65, maybe you transition into Medicare. But knowing that timeline for your healthcare plan is very, very important. And finally, your legacy, okay? You want to make sure that your assets know where to go. Big NIGO we see a lot, real estate. That real estate, that house doesn't have the beneficiary assignment it needs. Maybe your bank accounts do not have the beneficiary assignments that they need. And lastly, maybe your words haven't been captured. Maybe you have those thoughts and those feelings that you've never been able to express. Spoken words have power, written words have longevity. Hope you enjoyed this segment.
Great segment there, Jack, on NIGOs, not in good order. Kind of a back office term here at Centennial Wealth, but it also certainly applies to your retirement plan. You want to make sure that everything is in good order. And you know, very frequently we come across clients where they think they have everything in good order, but oftentimes there's something missing, something in the plan that just isn't quite right. And you know, most recently it's been health insurance for a lot of clients that come through the Gaylord office. They're getting all their investments all planned out, but what happens when they retire? What happens with health insurance? And so most people are like, okay, well, when I retire, I got to go find insurance somewhere because my employer coverage doesn't continue on until I get to Medicare age. And there's a lot of confusion on, okay, where do I get that insurance? How do I apply for it? What are the benefits of it and so forth? And that's where we can help. I mean, we can help you navigate marketplace insurance. It's often very confusing, and there's so many different aspects that go into it that you want to make sure you're well aware of. But that's not the only NIGO out there. There's many more, right, Jack?
Absolutely. It's kind of a fun challenge that I actually give myself is when a client will come in, I'll be kind of searching, okay, what part of their whole setup in that holistic approach has a NIGO. Rarely do I ever find a client that doesn't have at least one NIGO. And then what we get to do is sincerely say, hey, that might be a problem, and here's what your options are. And there's times that it doesn't even involve us, but the point that we get to actually help identify, you know, we're neck deep in this every single day, trying to figure out strategies and thoroughly adding value, you know, to people's lives. It's fun to give them that red flag review, if you will, to say, yep, you're in good order all the way across the board, and that would be rare to find, but it's fun to be able to tell them that when it happens. You know, the other biggest NIGO I think I see is people's investment risk, and they go into those buckets of either having no idea what their current risk is, or they're taking unnecessary risk. And I'm a huge, okay, let's take calculated risk. And if you've ever watched me on Lake Misaki skiing with my kids, you know, you might see me holding my son Micah and my daughter Ellie might be on my shoulders. That is a calculated risk to help my kids not be fearful of an ever-changing life coming at them. But I had to fall a lot of times in order to take that risk. So yeah, coming up next, we're going to be talking about part-time employment in retirement. You don't want to miss it.
What can Retirement Analyzer do for you? Retirement Analyzer is a software tool that can help you prepare today for your financial future. You've worked hard to save for your retirement, but as you near your retirement, you may have concerns. Have I positioned my retirement savings wisely? Have I saved enough for retirement, and will my savings last throughout my lifetime? What impact could inflation have on my future expenses? What if I suffer a long-term illness? Will I have enough money to cover my medical care expenses and still be able to meet my other financial obligations? Could changes in the income tax rates disrupt my retirement strategy? There's no need to be in the dark as you prepare for your retirement. Retirement Analyzer can help you find answers to all these questions and more. The first step is providing us with information on your financial assets, the type and current value of those assets, as well as your sources of income. Then, we work with you to identify your expected expenses in retirement. This will include a discussion of the lifestyle you envision in retirement, travel, a summer residence, whatever you dream your retirement will be. We'll input the information you provide us into the Retirement Analyzer, and in a very short time we'll have reports that show us the percentage of assets currently in high-risk vehicles as well as the percent in lower-risk products. Retirement Analyzer enables us to project your income from year to year in your retirement and see how long your retirement savings may last. As we change the conditions of the report, delaying your retirement date, including costs for long-term care, adjusting the expected tax rate, or adjusting your retirement strategies, we can see how changes in these variables may impact your income in retirement and the longevity of your retirement savings. Let the Retirement Analyzer help you test drive your retirement strategy today, because the time to discover the bumps in the road is not once your trip through retirement has begun. Contact our office today to schedule an appointment for your Retirement Analyzer review.
Working in retirement, maybe part-time employment, and you might be thinking, oh goodness, I've worked my whole life, I don't want to work part-time. But for some folks, it's one, a way they can retire, or two, it's a way to fill time. You know, we've talked about time and all that sort of stuff with retirement and part-time employment. So I want to talk a little bit about things that you just have to be careful of or watch for. One, if you retire and go back to work, and depending upon your age and if you're drawing Social Security, be cautious of that. Remember, full retirement age is giving us that time that then we can have unlimited earnings and not have the let's call it penalty to Social Security. So if you earn too much from 62 to your full retirement age and you're collecting Social Security of that earned income, there could be consequences to your Social Security. They could start pulling some of that back of your Social Security. Now keep in mind, again, if you're retired collecting Social Security and it's not earned income, you know, IRA withdrawals, you know, passive income, maybe retirement, rental income, stuff like that, that's not going to count against it from that perspective. I'm talking about earned income, so like W-2 wages, 1099s, working, that sort of stuff. So keep that in mind. Two, look at it from a tax perspective. You know, depending upon your other resources as well and incomes coming in, what is this part-time income going to do from a tax perspective? Again, there's no tax bracket that's over 100%, so making money is still a good thing, but how is that changing that? Do you have another tax strategy in place through either from a healthcare subsidy situation, Roth conversion, all that sort of stuff to keep in mind of how that's impacting that from there. So it's, again, it's just something else that has to be planned for that. Working part-time for an enjoyment seems to be one of the common things I see from retirees out there, where they're looking to have that social connection, maybe out there in a place where they're doing that. They're doing something maybe that they love, whether that's working in a flower shop or a garden center, or maybe mowing grass on a golf course because they want the free golf or something like that. But having that social connection, and also having maybe that's something they've always wanted to do when they do that. I joke all the time that I hope in my retirement, I want to work in an ice cream shop. Who's not happy coming to an ice cream shop and you serving them their ice cream cone with sprinkles on it and making kids' day and stuff like that? Wouldn't that be fun? So again, maybe you're an ice cream shop owner and you're thinking it's not all it's cracked up to be, but thinking stuff like that from that perspective again is part-time employment can be a part of the plan. Maybe it needs to be for financial reasons. Maybe it needs to be there for an enjoyment or time reason. Again, when you're going through this, as you hear us talking so much, it's a piece of the plan. How is that fitting into it, and how is that impacting all these other areas? Sometimes it's not just as simple as, hey, I'm going to pick up a few hours here and there and I'm going to get paid for that. Yes, that's a piece of it, but how is that impacting everything else? So again, looking at your retirement plan, if you'd like to see how part-time employment may impact that at the different sectors, give us a call. We'd love to walk through that with you and help you plan to retire well.
What a great segment, and an awesome reminder that, if you've been a part of life for many years in the workforce, that stuff doesn't just leave just because you retire. Numerous times I see with our client base, their full-time retirement includes a part-time job. They have a full-time mission, but they only spend part of that time, at a job that, whether they own that job because it's a skill set that they've learned over years, where they're fixing things or driving tractors or driving school bus, or they're doing something that they've always wanted to do. They just don't devote all of their time to it. And because of that, now their full-time mission is they get to give back. They get to have that sense of self-worth as they're going through their day. It gets them out of bed. But then they have time to do things with families and build those connections or volunteer. And I see these part-time retirement jobs really fulfilling a great retirement plan, not only from some of the income benefits, but more so from just the ability to give back and to feel energized as they continue in their retirement.
Yeah, I have a client where his way to give back is being a ski instructor in Gaylord in the wintertime. Growing up, he loved skiing, but he just really didn't have the time in his working years to get out and hit the slopes as much as he would have liked. So he volunteers, I believe he does get paid, but as a ski instructor at one of the local resorts in Gaylord, and he absolutely loves it, and he still keeps his health up, and he does actually travel out west once a year as well. But it's a way to work a little bit on the side, give back to the community, and still be a contributing member of society, and he really enjoys that. And it just speaks volumes to finding a mission other than yourself in retirement, finding a purpose. And there's so many different ways that you can do that, and it's unique to you. All right, well, I hope you found this show valuable. Please don't forget to check us out on YouTube. Go to youtube.com/retiringwell. We've got a lot of great episodes out there as well. And then please give us a call. Schedule that free, no obligation consultation. All right, well, don't forget to tune in next week, same time, same station. Take care.